Hey everybody, this is Jacob with Mortgage Coach Support. Just wanted to give you a brief once over on how to use the rent versus own analysis to show an FHA loan. So what you're going to need to do is make sure and select a property here. You'll notice if you don't select a property, none of your work will be saved, so make sure there's one to select from this drop-down box. Specify the value of your property. You want to put a home appreciation percentage. Usually you're looking for this to be about a 10-year span of time. 3% is pretty safe for most areas. Put in your client's tax bracket if you happen to know it. The months to analyze are these month fields down here on the right hand side. They show the length of the ownership analysis. In this case I'm going to use 5 and 10 years, so I use 60 and 120 for the months. Now for the rent, make sure and enter your customer's current rent and any annual increase they have. Now the monthly accumulation, you want to show an opening balance here of your customer's down payment. You want to show them what it would otherwise be doing in a bank account versus going to a down payment on a house. So for a $300,000 house, and we're going to do an FHA loan here, so it's going to be 3.5% down. That down payment is $7,000. So I'm going to put $7,000 here in the opening balance. And I'm going to put an interest rate of 3%. That's pretty fair for a money market or a CD account. And then any monthly amount that they're currently putting away. If they're paying $2,200 of rent and they're putting away an extra $150 towards buying a house, you want to include that here so they can see what would happen if they decide not to go with the home ownership option. Include any renter's insurance or other fees that they might be paying. Then you want to specify your loan program. So here I'm going to go ahead and put 30-year FHA fixed. Now you can specify your equity percentage here. In this case, they're going to put 3.5% down, so I put 3.5 there. You'll notice my loan amount is $289.5. Now we'll talk about the upfront mortgage insurance premium in just a minute here. Select your loan type. It's going to be a fixed loan. Make sure and select your interest rate. Now your closing costs for an FHA loan, you're actually going to lump your closing costs and your regular prepaids into this section. So if you had $3,000 in closing costs and then another $2,000 in the prepaids, you're going to put your $5,000 right here. List any points that you're charging. Now the prepaid section, this is important. This is where you put your upfront MIP. In this case, the upfront MIP is 1.75% of our $300,000 value. That's going to be $3,500. So we'll put that right here. Now if we need to roll that upfront MIP into the loan amount, we would hit add prepaids to loan amount, and you'll notice it changes our loan amount now to $293. The important part about doing it this way is it actually keeps your cash to close correctly, and you'll see what I mean at the end here. If you want to specify an accumulation here, you would do this if their mortgage payment is actually going to be significantly less than what they're currently paying for the rent. In this case, if we just look at just the payments against each other, they're paying $2,200 for rent and $1,600 for just P&I. Their monthly benefit, their tax benefit, obviously they're going to see this at the end of the year, so that's really not something you probably want to suggest putting away every month because they don't have it yet. And the principal paid, obviously this is going straight into their equity, so this is not necessarily an immediate cost savings either. So I would take the base payments, 22 minus 16, set aside $200 or $300 from that, and show them what they can do with just the savings they're getting on buying a new house. So put in an interest rate here. I'm going to use the same 3%, and let's say they can put away $300 with this new payment structure. Now you also want to enter their taxes and insurance here so they can get a valid idea of what their PITI would be. You can use either the factor percentages or the raw numbers. Now mortgage insurance on an FHA loan, if your LTV is greater than 80%, which 9 times out of 10 on a purchase, you are going to be much greater than LTV of 80. So you can list your mortgage insurance here. You can do it either by factor or amount, and it'll be fine. Now, if for some reason you're doing an FHA loan where the LTV is less than 80%, you actually want to list this mortgage insurance in the other spot right here instead of mortgage insurance, because this software is actually meant to calculate mortgage insurance only if the LTV is greater than 80%. So if you are doing one less than 80, put it in the other field here. Otherwise, go ahead and list it in the regular mortgage insurance field, and this will show mortgage insurance that will cut off at 79%. So you're pretty safe there. Now the bottom line of this whole discussion is you're looking at significantly reducing their payment, about $200 total of every month. So maybe I should actually reduce my monthly amount they're setting aside to $200, because now we're seeing PITI of $20.68 versus the total payment of $2,200 for rent. So saving a little over $1.50. Then they've got their tax benefit and they've got their principal payment. So overall, at the end of the year, they're saving monthly a little over $800. So that's one selling point right there. The next part, obviously, is their total payment. They're paying $140,000 in just to rent, so this money's going to somebody else's pocket. Versus ownership, where they're paying $124,000, but look at the breakdown. They're paying $23,000 into principal, so they're retaining that as equity, and they're making another $24,000 just on the tax benefit at the end of the year. So this is pretty solid right here. At this point, you might also want to remind your buyer, if they're a first-time home buyer, they qualify for that $7,500 tax benefit this year. So you might want to make sure and bring that up with them. So if you look at our net costs now, we've got $140,000 going into somebody else's pocket versus a total payment of $76,000 when you take out all the principal and the tax benefits. So your net savings by ownership over a 60-month period of time is now $60,000. You're also accruing real estate value because we've specified an appreciation percentage. And there's your loan balance at 5 years. Now the total equity you have is going to be $77,000 after 5 years. Now the numbers pretty much do the same thing on the 10-year period of time, but they're bigger numbers. These are just, if somebody's looking at a 10-year period and they see a net savings of $150,000 in their pocket, that's going to get somebody off the fence so they'll buy a house. Now the bottom, the overall spot here, it shows what would happen if they took their down payment and just left it in a CD account and continued making their monthly amount of payments of $150. So this would be the waiting part. If they want to continue renting and putting away money just to see how much they would have in an account. After 10 years, they've got $30,000 in the account. Versus ownership, where they've actually got, at 5 years, $13,000 in the account, and you got almost $30,000 after 10 years. But the big difference here, look at the total net worth, $191,000 versus that $30,000. So you've got all the equity, you've got all the tax benefit, you've got all the other add-ons that make this a far more lucrative position for them to be in. So this is your biggest selling point. When you're ready to print out this report, just go up to Prepare Report up at the top here. You can choose the single-page report, or you can develop a report presentation. It's completely up to you. I'm going to do a single page for this one. And as you can see, the report actually spells it out for them. It puts in all the variables that you've used. It spells out their APR for them. It shows them what their down payment is going to be, what their total closing costs, and their total cash to close. Now as we go down, it's obviously going to be just about the same things we were just discussing over on our input page. But the big differences here is the bottom line. By 10 years, your asset account is $30,000. By 10 years, your home's equity is $163,000 and your asset account is almost $30,000. Total net worth of $191,000. So after 120 months, you'll be $160,000 wealthier as a homeowner. That's your big selling point. When you're ready to print it out, you can come up here to the top left and hit print, or you can choose to export this as a PDF, or you can email it directly. If you have any questions, feel free to email support@mortgagecoach.com, and we'd be